On Monday, Chicago and Illinois sue Trump for his National Guard deployment plan. This comes after 300 troops of Illinois' National Guard were to be federalized and deployed in Chicago, along with 600 troops from Texas. This lawsuit comes after an Oregon judge ruled that Trump cannot deploy the National Guard to Oregon from anywhere. The Trump administration argued that large American cities are war-ravaged and lawless amid its crackdown on illegal immigration, while officials in Illinois and Oregon say military intervention isn't needed and federal involvement is inflaming the situation. The next day, the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi deflected questions during a congressional hearing. Members of Congress are concerned that she is turning the law enforcement agency into a weapon to seek vengeance against Trump's political opponents.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question.
You were asked, a law degree,
excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire career.
You can attack me later, and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day to day.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be...
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing, and it comes in the wake of revelations that a top administration official took $50,000 in a bag, and this department made that investigation go away. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing when dozens of prosecutors have been fired simply because they worked on cases investigating the former president. This is, and now
what
the current
about the
president.
Fires in California?
And
do you
this
care
is
about that
supposed to be,
senatorship?
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing in which members of Congress can get serious answers to serious questions about
Are the riots in LA serious?
About the cover-up of corruption, about the prosecution of the president's enemies. And
I think you owe the president an apology.
When will it be
frankly,
that the members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions and refuse to accept
Clearly you're a failed lawyer because you don't understand when someone can and cannot answer a question.
Refuse to accept personal slander as an answer to those questions.
Personal slander? Will you apologize to Donald Trump for slandering him? Personal slander.
Then on Wednesday, Trump says that Illinois' governor and Chicago's mayor should be jailed as they oppose the National Guard's deployment. Specifically, Trump said, Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also. Mayor Brandon Johnson responded by saying, this is not the first time Trump has tried to have a black man unjustly arrested. I'm not going anywhere. Governor J.B. Pritzker said, I will not back down. Trump is now calling for the arrest of elected representatives, checking his power. What else is left on the path to full-blown authoritarianism? The next day, a judge blocked Trump's deployment of the National Guard to Chicago for at least 2 weeks. The judge said she found no substantial evidence that a danger of rebellion is brewing in Illinois during Trump's immigration crackdown, and that the Trump administration violated the 10th Amendment that grants certain powers to states, and they also violated the 14th Amendment, which assures due process and equal protection. There has been no response from the White House at this point, and a hearing has been set for October 22nd. Then on Friday, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to a Venezuelan activist, Corina Machado, for standing up to a dictatorship in her country. When the Nobel Committee chair was asked if Trump's campaign to win the prize influenced their decision, he did not answer directly, but said Trump's campaign is not unusual and highlighted that courage and integrity were factors in their decision. He also said that, with the rise of authoritarian regimes around the world is less safe, and that democracy is a precondition for peace, which implies that every Nobel Peace Prize candidate will be someone who clearly supports democracy over authoritarian regimes.
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee has seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Hello, Bibiana Piena from the Norwegian News Agency. As you state in your explanation, more countries are moving in a more autocratic direction. Would you say that the committee, by this prize, is sending a warning to the world?
Living in a world where we have less and less democracies and more authoritarian regime means that the world is also getting more unsafe. And we believe that peace, democracy is a precondition for peace. And so yes, that is the message to the world. We need to support the democratic forces also on behalf of peace. Thank you.
The next day, Trump directs the Pentagon to use all available funds to ensure troops are paid despite the government shutdown. Trump said, "We have the funds to do this, and Secretary Hegseth will use them to pay our troops." He did not say where he's getting the money, but a spokesperson from the White House Office of Management and Budget said that the Pentagon will use $8 billion from their research and development funds to help pay the troops. Finally, on Sunday, Trump posted that the Biden FBI placed agents in the January 6th crowd in 2021. Specifically, he said, the Biden FBI placed 274 agents into the crowd on January 6th. If this is so, which it is, a lot of very good people will be owed big apologies. What a scam. Do something. The problem with this claim is that Trump was president on January 6, 2021, and even though Trump's own FBI director, Kash Patel, clarified that FBI agents were sent into a crowd control mission after a riot was declared by Metro Police.